I do want to disclose something. Due to the fact that this is a lot of information, especially of what I went through last week with you guys, I do ask that please be mindful of everybody's surroundings, whether you're talking, have a question or whatnot. The reason why is because I may recap the information all over again. So maybe your answer will be answered in my recap. Please don't talk over me. Please, if you have a question, raise your hand because it's important. The reason why I stress this is because, again, last week I felt like everybody was on a 10,000 milligram caffeine high, and I'm like, whoa. And I know, I get it. I know that we are really excited about what's happening soon. I know.
Apprehensive.
We're excited. We're excited. We're so overly excited that we can't wait to use these forms, right?
Right.
We're super excited. I'm so happy that California Association of Realtors, NAR, everybody decided that they need to give us more forms on top of the other forms that we have to use and more work. But guess what? That's why we're here. Listen, I was so excited about the last class. I woke up early this morning because I always like to recap what I'm going to teach again for the day. But I woke up this morning and I was like, you know what? This is going to be great. It's not stressing me out. I mean, things are happening soon to a theater near you. Things are happening soon, guys. Let me give you a little bit. Who wants to hear a small story? Because I always like to start with a story and then we go on. You ready for it?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Here's a story. I went on a listing appointment on Saturday. Okay. I didn't get the listing, but it's okay. That has nothing to do with the story, but because the seller needs a little bit more time. But during my listing presentation, interesting question that the seller asked me. Guess what it was?
Who pays
Commission.
the
Thank you. Is it true that I have to pay commission? So what does Liz do? It's like, you know, that phrase that they have, what would Jesus do? Okay, so then I don't want to compare myself, but I was like, what would Liz do? Okay, so what would Liz say? So this was easy. I go, you know what? You actually heard correctly. At one point or another, sellers can decide whether or not to compensate the buyer's agent. However, you have options. You have options. Why did I say that? Because nor do I want to, yes, I get it, they're saving money on compensation, but I don't want to slam them with, yes, you're right. No, I want to give them informative information. That's what we're here for. We're agents that give what? Informative information. We share with them that they have options. This is what happens. You've already been established contractually for the longest amount of time, stating on the RLA that there would be a portion of the commission that would be given to the buyer's agent, correct?
Correct.
Yes. Okay. This case, yes, you have heard correctly. However, the option is this. If you choose not to have a compensation for the buyer's agent, that may limit your pool of buyers. Why? Because now everybody has an opinion and I get it, I respect it, but this is the reason why I was going along with this, because this lady has an urgency to sell her home because she needs to relocate when she does a job transfer, okay? So the money is dependent on the sale of her home. Well, if you think about it, statistically, and I'm one for statistics, statistically, what's the percentage of a lot of first-time buyers? It's a high percentage, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if we have a high percentage of first-time buyers, they're literally barely able to scrape up for what? For their down payment. Not only is it their down payment, what else is there?
Closing costs.
Closing costs. Not even that. There's even more to it. Inspections. Appraisal. So we all know what that comes about, like what that all gears up to. So long story short, I let the seller know at the time that you decide to list, because she's thinking maybe after August, and I'm okay with it. At the time that you decide to list, I already gave her my presentation. She knows how much I'm going to charge. She knows what it will be fully, and I don't mind disclosing. I'm going to be charging 5%. We split it in half, 2.5, 2.5. I already explained my compensation. I already explained how the commissions are divvied up, what do I have to pay to my brokerage, along with what the buyer's agent has to pay to their brokerage. I said at the time that you are ready to move forward and sign the RLA, at that moment, then you can let me know how you wish to proceed. But I will let you know this, you could limit your buyer pool, especially if you're in the situation of wanting to relocate and transfer out. How did that sound to you guys?
Good.
Perfect.
Sounded good, right?
Yep.
Why? It gives us satisfaction, a sense of like more of a comfort of them understanding, okay, yes, I know that I could be cheap and save money and not have to pay another agent, but shoot, if I want to get my property off the market and I need to move quickly, maybe giving a compensation would benefit my sale of my property. Again, it's how the information is transmitted, it's how it's presented, and it's how you would move forward. Before I start with my class, I want to say something really quick. If you guys didn't know, did you guys know that Mike Ferry will be in town next Friday?
No.
June the 14th in Whittier. Go on Eventbrite. He'll be talking about how to get listings, listing presentation, Eventbrite. I already registered this morning. So it's June 14th. It's out in the city of Whittier. And it's Mike Ferry Becoming a Powerful Listing Agent. It goes from 8:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. in the city of Whittier. Eventbrite. Go and look for tickets, and they're free. And I know that we all like.
Is that the
Free,
government
bring it
or
up.
something?
I think so. The DoubleTree maybe in downtown Whittier or uptown Whittier.
It's on Greenleaf,
I
Baker?
think so. But check on Eventbrite, and you can go and register for your ticket. And again, like I said, it's free. Okay, next thing I wanted to also talk about. Did you see? Well, actually, I'm not even gonna say if you saw it, because no, I know you guys didn't see it. I mean, that's a given right there. Sorry. Did you see that on your car forms? You know that car forms. I'll show you this. You know that car forms does announcements, right? If you haven't looked because you haven't been on your car forms in forever and a day, it's okay. But I'll show it for you. So when you sign in, let me sign in really quick. When you sign in, it actually gives you some updates. You see this red part right here? Get the latest on upcoming business practice changes and read more. Look at this. Well, we were out vacationing for Memorial Day weekend. Guess what they decided to do? They were working overtime. They gave us some more stuff to be updated. So if you guys went on this, please, I suggest that you go through it, read about it. I'm not going to be talking about this right now because, again, I want to get to the page to the BRBC. But if you open it, you'll see something like this. See something like this, where it talks about the practice changes under the settlement agreement. Oh, and most importantly, don't think that just because, we're having changes to the BRBC, guess what else is changing? No? What is it that what agents like to do on Sundays?
Open houses.
Get ready, because that will be another class I will be doing. Open houses. Your open houses will change completely.
Jeez.
Oh yeah, they're going from A to Z like a domino effect all the way through. Yeah, and you guys got to be prepared with the forms at the open house, as well as kind of like an open house provisional or advisory form before they view the home.
Wow.
Okay, and guess what? You need to give that. You should be issuing that form not when they walk in, before they walk in. So it's suggested. But I mean, if it's scorching hot outside in 120-degree weather, I'm not gonna pass out for that.
No.
They have to sign it. Don't look at me like that.
No, I'm just saying, what if they don't sign it?
Don't give me objections. They have to sign it. I am not the Department of Real Estate to be giving me objections. You can contact the 800 number and ask them, okay? Thank you.
Don't play with
Don't play with me right now. Okay, we're not starting last week again today. Okay, next. Think about it, you guys. If a buyer comes through to an open house, Marisa, what is it that you should be asking?
To sign.
You working with raise your hand. Yvette. What do you have to ask?
Are you working with another agent?
Thank you. Okay. Marisa, what
You
happened?
should have asked that last week when you
My goodness. Was it, I mean, this was last week. That's why I think Okay, so that is something that was already announced. Open houses will be changing. Are we excited about that? I know-
Thrilled.
Doris, I know, I'm sorry. Listen, I'm here
I'm
with
so
you.
old school, but.
I'm with you. I am so old school too, but we will make it together, okay? We'll we will hold hands and make it through the game. Okay, so let's get started, you guys, because I wanted to announce that, yes, open house changes are coming into effect. Your BRBC comes into effect when? August the 17th, guys. I'm so proud to say that they have decided, you know what, not July, I'll give you a little bit of time to figure it out, but to figure out all of these pages, which I think I calculated 19, I believe, figure it out before August 17th. Another thing, please don't wait till August the 17th, because please be mindful that agents right now are already utilizing this form. Why? Because some agents are finding out that when they claim that their client is ready to sell, but doesn't want to put it on the market, that client ends up going to an open house and says, oh, you know what, Sylvia, I really like this house. And guess what, Sylvia, if the realtor tells the client, well, you know what, I could probably get you into this house. Oh, but I have to sell my house. Well, you know what, I can make it happen. Do you have a form already signed? Oh no, what is that? Well, let me explain it to you. Boom, that client will sign that buyer representation form with her. And guess what else Sylvia will have them sign?
The listing.
Thank you. See how quick we have to be on our toes with this?
Yeah.
Again, this is not gonna be the whole he said, she said, oh my God, they stole my client, da 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 da. Is that they didn't steal your client? No, not at all. Is that you failed to actually present an agreement allowing you to represent them, whether it is exclusive or non-exclusive. But what would he want to do? An exclusive representation, correct?
Mhm.
All right, so let's go to page on the BRBC. So guys, look for, if you have your handouts, look for the BRBC.
You have one?
These are thick. Why? Because I've included the RPA in there. Why do you think I included the RPA in there, guys?
People forget to read
You
it.
think we don't have to read it?
Thank you. I'm so glad someone decided to say that. People,
Justin Timberlake?
Justin Timberlake is the buyer. You know, I got so inspired. I was listening to him and I was like, you know what? It was between him or Lenny Kravitz, honestly. Because Lenny Kravitz just turned 60 and I was like, you know what? Why not? He needs like a senior citizen facility, right? No, we can do that. Okay, guys. So the reason why I included the RPA is because whether you guys know this or not, there is something on the RPA that does mention a form that you guys will be utilizing when you're dealing with a BRBC. So please look for your BRBC, guys. Let me know when you're there so that I
There.
can. Sorry, there?
There.
Okay, can I hear a there?
There.
Cool, guys. Okay. So I want to do a quick recap, and it's going to be super quick, you guys. Remember, the BRBC, we want to call it a buyer's loyalty agreement. Buyer loyalty. Why? Because they're loyal to who? You. Okay. No client it's not a client until there is a written agreement. Do you need one?
I do, because I don't think I have your name part of it.
Do you guys have it? You guys have this? Yes? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
It's not in the new.
It's in the back.
Yeah, look at the back, Betty. This one doesn't ask me.
BRBC? Hey, where's my BRBC? Hold on, hey, wait a minute. Marketing? Printed it out.
No, it's because Liz, some of the people brought their own, because I did.
That's fine.
This one has, this one does.
Okay,
But you
that's
need
fine.
to-
That's fine. Do you need it? Lenny?
I need it, I don't have it.
You're looking for it, if they.
Oh, you didn't have it.
Oh, yeah, we didn't find it.
Because I don't find it. We have another one that has it.
Need one?
This one doesn't. have it.
Yeah, I think that it
This one
doesn't have.
doesn't have it.
This is the old one.
That's the old one.
Yeah, this one doesn't have it.
Yeah, the RPA's on it.
Man, we got marketing that killed trees for no reason.
I think it's the only one. Do you have the one with the?
This is,
Let me see the one you have.
yeah, this one doesn't have it. All right, guys, so some of these don't even have it. So if you guys have it, great. Other than that, let's look at the page up here, up on top. And take notes, okay? So remember, like I said, it's not a client until there's a written agreement. As far as that is concerned, that person is considered a what? This was on your real estate exam, by the way.
Prospect.
Customer. Okay, it's considered a customer. Okay, remember, if you go overboard on dates, if you go overboard on prices, if you go overboard, it is not enforceable.
Right.
Okay, remember that. Next thing, we are going to scroll down to paragraph 4, okay, or number 4, and we're gonna go down to C really quick. Cancellation of buyer's representation. Remember, we have a cancellation of buyer's representation and we have an NBIP, okay? I wanna go through this really, really quick. If it's exclusive, that means they have 30 days till after the receipt of the notice. If it's non-exclusive, it terminates on default immediately, okay? So remember that. Next thing, default is effective immediately. The second one's optional, 30-day notice, one to the other must give NBIP during the 5 days. The NBIP, you guys, because all of this is like literally a lot of, a lot of stuff. Notice of broker involved properties. Okay, so Justin Timberlake, we showed him a property. Okay, if the agreement happened on what day and expired on such and such a date, guess what? Where I'm going to be going with the NBIP when you cancel, I want to basically state all the properties that I've shown. Oh yeah, because now we have to be specific, guys. Be specific to all the properties. Look, broker involved properties. Broker involvement means any of the following: buyer physically entered and was shown the property. Broker showed the property to the buyer virtually. We discussed virtually. What does that mean, guys? Last week I discussed virtually. Virtually means you have to have proof that you virtually shown a property. And how is Card or NAR and all of them people saying how we virtually shown? Phone. We videotape it. I know it kind of sounds a little bit, how can I say it, extreme, but how else are we gonna prove that I showed David Romero a property through Zoom or through my FaceTime? I'm gonna have to find a way to record that puppy. So David, no objections to me, because I'm telling you right now, I showed you that property last week, okay? So remember, the NBIP, once there's a cancellation, within 5 days, you guys should be writing this immediately, getting this done, because this is going to be your proof. If you showed a property and there's a cancellation, and let's say that Jamie decided to go to Sylvia to have Sylvia represent her, Sylvia needs to ask for that cancellation, all the documentation, so that Sylvia knows what properties were shown. Because guess what? If Jamie doesn't do that to Sylvia, and then Sylvia finds out that she's in escrow and closed on an escrow with Jamie on a property that I showed showing procuring cause, what happens to Jamie?
I get paid.
Like, bro, how do you get paid?
Sorry, I'm just kidding. I was hopeful.
Jamie will be needing to compensate who?
You.
Well,
You show her the property.
Rematch champions, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you guys understand that?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back. I'm gonna go back to the BRBC. I'm gonna be jumping back and forth. So if you have a tab, go back and forth on your pages, okay? That's for the cancellation part of it. You need an NBIP once you've done a cancellation to show procuring cause of any properties that you've shown on the market, virtually whatnot. Do we understand that?
Yes.
Okay, next thing, let's go down to paragraph. It's still on page 1, 4D. Okay, I want to touch bases on this a little quickly because this we discussed last week, but because there's a lot of questions. I want to go through this super quick, but it's going to be easy for you guys to understand. Okay, 4D, accounting for payments to broker by others. Number 3, it says, and this is where I'm gonna have you look at your RPA. Number 3 says, authorization to include commission and offer. Buyer authorizes, or you can put does not authorize, broker to include a term in buyer's offer obligating seller to pay broker directly through escrow for any compensation that buyer owes broker. What does that translate to you guys in your mind? What are we-
Out-of-pocket expense from the buyer.
Almost. Anybody else have a guess?
You're authorizing the agent to ask the seller to pay the commission.
Bingo. Bingo. Go through your pamphlets. That's why I decided to bring out the RPA, because again, no one reads their RPA. RPA, paragraph 3G3. Paragraph 3G3. Can you please go and look for that, please?
It's not in our packet.
You don't have your RPA?
Not this one.
I'm not here also. Okay, then you can look up at the screen. Let me know when you guys are there, because this is a wonderful little thing that's already technically on our RPA right now, but no one knows what it's all about. So it's page 2 of the RPA, 2 of 16. It's 3G3. What does that say? I don't know. I know it's small, but if it's checkmarked, seller agrees to pay the obligation of buyer to compensate buyer's broker under a separate agreement. Form number what? SPBB. Seller's broker's offer, if any, to compensate buyer's broker is unaffected unless otherwise agreed. Has anybody been seeing this lately in the RPA?
Yes.
Well, that's only a few, so are we not writing up offer size? Come on.
No.
David!
I got a listing.
I was gonna say,
Okay,
listings are fun.
okay, for the listing agents, great, I applaud you. Okay, I'm like, listen, for those buyers agents, get familiar with this form. This actually really does help, because once you check mark this, it's kind of like a little bit of a loophole, kind of. I say it very delicately, because if you decide to write up an offer for your buyer, I would check mark that regardless of the agreement that you have with your buyer. If David decided to charge his buyer 6% total, and we already know how David is.
Only in America.
Only in America. I love it. If you decide to set your, your commission at, let's say 3%, I'm just gonna take it down to that, 3%. Well, now you can ask the seller to pay the compensation to us and basically see what they have to say. There's nothing wrong with it, because the thing is that a lot of agents are not understanding this part right here. So when check marked and they're thinking, no, where my seller's not paying any commissions because they have an agreement, be mindful that you could, if you don't keep an eye out for this, if you're a listing agent, you could be making your seller pay compensation to the broker without you really reading the fine line. Yes, sir.
Well, we can counter this, right?
Absolutely. Don't counter me, but
I
you
know.
can counter
I'm with you.
Don't counter me, but you can do that. So I want to go from this. I want to go to the SPBB form. Okay. So while you guys are looking for it, and if you don't have it, don't worry. I'm going to put it up on the screen. That's why there's going to be a lot of going back and forth on some forms, but there's a reason for it. Every part that I talk about in this BRBC has to do with the form that you're going to have to use. So it goes hand in hand, okay? I'm telling you, they made our job so much easier in regards to this. I mean, I can't wait. I say that loosely. Okay, so SPBB, seller payment to buyer's broker. If you guys don't know don't know the abbreviations, at least you can hear them, but just remember, seller payment to buyer's broker. Okay, let's talk about this, guys. So I'm representing Justin Timberlake, and I'm having him buy Jennifer's office. Pretend it's a single family residence, okay? It's a mega mansion. So if you look at the instructions, this is important. And let me X out this blue area. Only use this form if buyer and buyer's agent have already entered into a buyer's representation agreement. Well, duh, because you shouldn't be writing an offer or showing properties if you don't have an agreement, right? I say that loosely, so sorry if you get offended because I say duh, but no, honestly, you guys need to start getting to the reality of we have to have that done. And 2, buyer has an obligation to pay buyer's broker compensation pursuant to the representation agreement after first deducting any amount that the buyer's broker will be receiving from the seller's broker through the MLS or other agreement. Well, we already know that the MLS, again, these might change because we already know that the MLS, we're not going to be able to see what the compensation is. Okay? So we're going to be contacting the agent and finding out, hey, are you giving me, like, are you throwing me a bone? Like, what's going on? Jamie, like, are you going to be cheap with me or are you going to give me something? You know? Lights out. I'm just kidding. Class is over. No. Okay. So that's one thing. So remember, we're not going to know what they're going to be compensating us. So we have to have the BRBC. We will know when we contact them and say, hey, what are you offering on this property? And that's how we'll know. Okay. There might be another form that's going to be thrown in there as well. We don't know. Third one, buyer is asking seller to pay buyer's broker all or a portion of the balance due buyer's broker under the representation agreement. The amount shall be entered into paragraph 3. Okay, guys. I want to recap with last week's class where I had the situation here where I think it was Marisa, you were sitting here, Mr. Jeff was sitting here. I know you love it when I talk about you because I love you, but it's a recap. I'm in the back.
Smart girl.
It doesn't matter. I'm going to pick on them too, okay? I'm just kidding. Okay, but I hope you guys remember. Last week I had mentioned, if I don't remember who was the agent, but I'll just leave it at Jamie. Jamie's the agent. She's charging 3%. If the sellers is offering 3%, does the Sylvia, the client, have to pay any commission?
No.
Thank you. She's 3%, she's asking for 3% compensation. If Doris is only giving 2%, does Sylvia have to pay a commission?
Yes.
1%, right? So you see how that works? Buyers asking sellers, so in this case, let's say Sylvia showed Jamie a home. Sylvia's charging 3%. Jamie's the client. Sylvia finds out, or Sylvia does this and finds out that, Doris is going to be giving out some compensation it's not like, it's going to compensate what's left over. That would work, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
No, okay.
Yeah.
Whatever's not, if you decide that you want to give out compensation,
seller?
and you're the seller, then that makes sense. Okay, but remember, here's the disclaimer, because David asked, and I said, don't do that with me, but David asked, seller may accept, reject, or counter this term as with any other term in buyer's offer. Okay, so I want to recap, guys. When you're writing up an offer for your buyer, you are going to mark 3G3. Why? Because then you do this SPBB. Why? Because if your buyer doesn't have that much compensation, because we don't know, and maybe they do, but maybe we don't know if the seller will be offering compensation to your broker. You can actually be the hero to your buyer, and they may not have to come in with all that money after all. It's an added form.
This is a disservice to the public.
I know, but David,
Because it ruins the fiduciary agreement. And
David,
agent would have to
contact Congress and you can fight up there, okay? Please don't fight me. All right, contact Congress, contact your local real estate informer. Don't take it on me.
No, I'm not
the bearer of bad news. I'm the one teaching the class.
I know.
But you guys-
Teach
Yeah,
agency law.
but-
Agency law.
but you guys, just let's keep it going. David,
Sorry.
You're about to get a chacal de la trompeta out of here.
I have a question for you, Liz. I have a question for you
Yes.
in that scenario. So, let's take this scenario here where she agrees to accept 3. We find a house, but Doris is only accepting 2.
It's offering two.
Is offering 2. So we could negotiate, do that. But Civic can also accept the 2. Like she could redraft the agreement or amend it and accept the 2. Right? So it's not like, oh, I have to charge. Like, it depends on the price too.
Absolutely. So everything, obviously, and that's a good point. Everything is negotiable. Always negotiable.
Yeah.
Like your services, if you claim that you want to charge 6, but understand that your client has been your client for 20 years and you always charge 6 because you just want to gouge them, I get it. You can actually lower your compensation. Okay? Everything is negotiable. Everything can be rewritten so that it accommodates what your client. I say that loosely because in this industry, everybody that has a past client, I've dealt with them, even with my current agents, that they tell me I'm charging them full price. I'm like, hey, not even a discount over here? I mean, they've given you enough business. No, because they might relocate. Well, then when they relocate, then hello, they're gonna give you referrals. So that's why I say it loosely. Yes, ma'am.
If you do change the commission, do you have to rewrite the contract or do you just do?
You can do an amendment.
Okay.
Amendment. At this point right now, guys, I'm saying amendment loosely. Why? Because of as of right now with our car forms, there are 67 changes are happening to a bunch of our forms. Our BIA, which used to be Buyers Inspection Advisory, guess what? It got changed to what? Buyer's Investigation Advisory. So there are numerous changes happening time to time.
Have her sit here, I'll move over there. Come and sit over here.
But
It's okay, I'm moving over there.
Linda, I'll move. It's here for her.
Excuse me.
You guys are so nice.
She just wants the paperwork.
Come here, Leslie.
just want the paperwork.
I'm so happy to hear. Okay, so yes, anything is negotiable, things can change, you can do an amendment according to your BRBC so that everybody is okay, all right? Next thing, let's go down to number 1 on this, again, we're on the SPBB. We already spoke about the instructions, but what do you have to be? You have to be in contract on your BRBC to enforce this, and what do you also have to do? RPA 3G what? 3G3. It sounds like a car make and model. 3G3. 3Gs. There you go.
3
Three Gs. I love it. Okay. So remember, seller may accept, reject, or counter this term with any of the other term and buyer's offer. I love this notification that they decided to place because I mentioned this last week. Everybody, or actually I kind of hammered Jamie, but she knows I love her. I told her not to say standard because we can't do that. But I love you. It says here, the amount of rates or real estate commissions is not fixed by law. Remember, we cannot do that. Why? Because there's laws against that. We cannot do that.
What if you
I
say,
am not the local congressman.
but what if we say this is normal, like for me as an agent? Not standard, but this is normal for me. What is it about a normal listing or offer that, you know what I mean?
I get it, but because we're so used to that terminology being used so often, unfortunately, in our industry, a lot of the consumers saying, well, it's standard, nothing's standard. It's what we.
Standard is different from normal?
What I meant when I said that
Yeah, there you
statement
go.
is when you look at listings and what they're offering, normally it's 2% all the way down the board.
Yeah,
It's not like
I noticed
2.25.
that.
So it was the wrong verbiage to use, standard.
We
'cause
want
that's
to clean
it's
up the
just what-
vocabulary a
what you
little bit.
see.
You know why? Because once we clean it up, then the consumer, the client, our future client, then they understand that, no, that it's never been like that. And it just makes a talk and conversation a lot easier, in other words, because they get that, they're already in a heightened sense of, oh crap, how much money do I have to shell out of out of the sale of my property? So that's what I wanted to say.
What's really scary is like if you have a client that you listed their home and they go into another open house and they sign something that the agent gave them, then that's what kind of, those are
You have
wrenches
to
in the
educate
works.
them.
You know what I mean? It's kind of.
So I want to backtrack and take it back 15 minutes ago. If you know that your client is going to be going to open houses, well, first of all, they shouldn't be going to open houses just like that. Why? Because you should have already had a buyer's conversation. Where? In your office. Why? To explain to them the buyer process as it equates to the changes in our real estate market. And next thing that you do is what? Present them with a BRBC. Whether you choose to do exclusive or non-exclusive, that's your prerogative and your choice. However, I do say exclusive because they won't be going to open houses and talking to another agent. Why? Because they're exclusive to me. So I won't have that apprehension of that other agent is going to take my client. Yes, ma'am.
Well, there's not only that, but you're saying, when they get to the open house, let's just say they go.
The other agent's gonna have to ask.
Yeah, they have to sign a form.
Marissa's going to have to ask. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, and that's gonna change too. That may change too with the signing
What if the
in.
agent says, I already have another agent? You're still gonna let them look, aren't you?
Yes.
I mean, I want it sold. I don't want to change my mind. I want it sold like that.
Again, as the time goes on, I love this. I'm not the local congressperson. As time goes on, I'm pretty sure things are gonna be changing on that. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just here for the BRBC. The open house edition will happen and then you can hammer me then, okay? Next thing. Let's move on. Buyer's representation agreement with compensation. So if Jamie said that she was, now we're gonna throw it to Jamie because Jamie's here. Jamie's the agent. She says on her BRBC that she charges 3%. So we're gonna insert 3% there. Unless you guys decide to do a flat, that's on you, but 3% is there. Next, the number 2, compensation from seller's broker to buyer's broker. Broker document is signed by buyer pursuant to the MLS or seller's broker has agreed to pay buyer's broker 2.5. Basically, you can change it up. They can pay a 2.5 commission and the other client pay half a point or half a percentage, I'm sorry, and you'll be done. Or you can negotiate and lower down your commission. But you have to insert something there. 3, seller payment to buyer's broker. So what does that mean? Seller's paying buyer's broker. So Keller Williams is paying RE/MAX Champions. Seller agrees to pay buyer's broker 2.5% of the purchase price or checked, obviously if there's a flat fee, no greater than applicable percentage in the amount in paragraph 1. Okay? Do you guys understand this?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanna go over this real quick, so
Yes.
I make sure I understand. The way you have it written right here, if we go into escrow, we close the deal, the seller is paying, let's just say you, 2.5%, and the buyer's paying the half, because the way you have it
But
written.
remember, everything is gonna be counter out. So this is basically a layout. This is what I have on this form.
Right.
I need you to counter out and tell me which one you're gonna choose. A listing agent will have to counter out and decide which one's going to be chosen. Because remember, none of this, if you look at the bottom of that page, none of this has given you a check mark to decide which one you've chosen. It has to be countered, agreed upon and everything. Because normally if something's check marked on the side, is because they have chosen to go with that option. So again, like it says it on top, seller may accept, reject, or counter this term. Most likely, every seller, they're gonna be countering. Because maybe you even have something in the RPA that they don't even like termite or home warranty. So they will have to decide which route they're gonna go. But if you look below that, number 4, buyer authorizes escrow holder upon request to deliver seller copy of the portion of the written agreement. I like this. Not only do you have to do this, the RPA, the SPBB, guess what you're also submitting? Page 1 of the BRBC. Why? Because what does page 1 indicate? How much you're charging. Crazy, isn't it? Everything is out there. I feel like we're like this, like, whoo, I don't want to show you. But no, everything is out there. Everything has to be disclosed. How are you guys feeling about this? I haven't asked.
Horrible.
David?
It's an adjustment, you know, we'll adjust to everything, it's like other things, I mean, we can make it whatever, however we perceive it, right?
Correct.
So
Absolutely.
it's an adjustment, I mean, it's part of our business and part of our professionalism, so we have to move forward.
You guys, yes,
I'm just gonna make a comment of what Olive said, because we really do have to do, as we do with our listing, sell ourselves, we've gotta do that to the buyer. And the moment we sit down with them and you're selling yourself, they shouldn't be jumping around with anybody else, because you've sold yourself, you've sat down, you gave them a presentation, and you listed your worth right there and then. So it should be a done deal once you've sat down with them and they're just like, where do I sign? How much do I have to pay you? When they're asking that, you did your job right.
yes. So, there's that, I'm glad, like, the reason why I ask, I want to hear what you have to say is because we talk about the changes that are happening in the market, and literally we're talking about it. Like, we're saying, hey, you guys need to know this. But I guess we failed, and I say we collectively, we failed to ask you guys, how do you feel about what these changes are all about? It's a transition. It is a transition, but like with everything else, if you are able to work on it and work on your presentation and your professionalism and your branding, like Yvette said, the client shouldn't have to think twice about not signing with you or canceling with you. So this entails that it's really gonna show, it's gonna platform you to make you look really good, or it could be those agents that haven't been in the business that long that makes them look really ill-equipped and bad. Yes.
Or you're not doing presentations, which most agents were not doing. I have always sat down and done a buyer presentation, explained every lingual, especially to the first time buyer, gave them a whole, kind of like a listing presentation, but it's a buyer presentation. And the end, they're telling me like, how much you're gonna charge? Like, that's great. They should be asking that, even though back then I was like, oh, my services are free for you. Like, but now we are gonna have to reverse that and kind of say, this is what can happen.
And it's even be good for us, because if we told them like how much they're gonna pay at the beginning, and then they're gonna give us, through the process, getting like credit towards them, and then telling them, oh, guess what? You're not gonna pay that much because I worked so hard. You're gonna just pay this difference, a little bit of what it was supposed to be at the beginning. So it's gonna be like, oh, you did help me to pay you less, and then you still work hard for me.
Now, can I give you guys a quick little rundown? This are the things that I'm hearing from the Midwest agents and the East Coast agents. You know what they're doing? They're doing a la carte service. A la carte. Do you guys know what that means?
Specific.
Yeah.
One
Off
pick
the
and choose
menu.
specific thing.
It's off the menu. So I consider us full service.
Yes.
Okay, I believe we are full service realtors. These agents, because they're coming across buyers that are, even sellers, sellers are getting a little picky. They're coming across buyers or sellers in a certain format. Buyers are like, oh, do I really need to pay you that amount? Well, this is my worth, this is my value. Well, and then what an agent's doing is they have a list of services. So, you really like that property right there? Oh, you want me to show it to you? Well, my service for that is X amount. Oh, you really want to put an offer in on that? My service is X amount. So this is what they're having to battle with.
I'd walk away from that.
I wouldn't do an a la carte service.
Yeah.
No, that's why we need to get very precise and very good at our
You know,
buyer's presentation.
The public, a lot of times, like, my wife and I, we went to see an open house this weekend in our neighborhood, and we got some good ideas on how to remodel our house from looking at the same floor plan. The agent, I would have been offended if she would have asked me to sign anything.
Well, I don't think she would, because if you just disclose that you're also a
I didn't
realtor,
disclose anything.
well, then that's your fault.
But I know, it's because I don't want them to know that I'm an investor.
But you don't have to let them know you're an investor, you can let them know you're a local realtor.
Yeah, no,
Hello?
it's not even that, it's because she didn't ask anybody, but the thing is, in other words, how do you know if you wanna buy a house? If you have, people, when they see a house that they like, then I wanna buy that house. I've done it where I told the agent, keep the commission, I
David,
want the house.
I know you don't like change, but
Yeah.
guess what, sweetheart?
Change.
It's coming. I'm sorry, Maricela. It's coming. It's coming. You're gonna have to I don't know, you guys are gonna have to go and to Yamava or something.
Yeah.
And play Buffalo, but I don't know.
Yesterday.
All right, guys, next, number 5, it says, if buyer's broker is the same as the seller's broker, then the amount specified in the MLS, well, obviously that will be probably taken out, most likely, because we're not specifying the MLS. Shall apply in the manner specified in paragraph 2 and 3. Additionally, a broker has agreed in a listing agreement to reduce the amount of compensation in the event of dual agency. The amount of compensation specified in the MLS will still apply to offset the compensation that the buyer has agreed to pay the buyer's broker. I know I said that really fast and everything, but I mean, it's self-explanatory because they will change the stuff, obviously, on the MLS. Any changes within compensation that you have a dual agency obviously has to be agreed upon and amended in an amendment, okay? But please take note. Your BRBC first page goes to who? The listing agent. RPA, 3G3, 3Gs, check marked. When it's check marked, what else do you supply? The wonderful SPBB. Why? Because we want the seller. Maybe they will pay the compensation. We don't know that. We want to include in that. Okay, guys. So let's do a recap really, really quick. Buyer can ask, the most important part, buyer can ask the seller to directly pay the buyers. Obligation to buyer's broker. They can ask for compensation from them. Don't think that they cannot. We can. We don't know. Maybe they have something hidden in like some tricks up their sleeve. We don't know, but it happens. All right. There is a wonderful form. You know, I love forms. You know, you guys, I love forms. Love it. I love learning about it. Oh, it keeps me up all night. Guess what that form is called? We're gonna move to the ABCD form. You know, so
The 1222, that's when that form came out, huh? It's just forms that
it's
we
funny.
haven't been using.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like, guess what other forms that no one's been using that I've been using and gotten criticized on? The BRB form that's now the BRBC form.
Oh,
Yep. Welcome to ABCD. I never thought that they would want to put a form like this. But before I go to the ABCD form, I wanna talk about why that form, what that form entails. So this is an additional form that's up here. I want you to go to your BRBC form. Again, because we have to go back from one to another so you guys understand. It's confusing, it's a lot, but it's telling you it's gonna be worth the information.
What page on the BRBC?
BRBC, page number 2, section F. Before I go to section F, really quick, honestly, because I skipped E, but E is really self-explanatory. E is your protection clause and your compensation clause. You guys should already know that. It protects you and it protects your compensation. You gotta read on that. That's why we discussed the SPBB. We discussed the SPBB. Why? Because we wanna protect our compensation at all times. Let's go to F, that's page number 2. Disclosure of anticipated payments to broker by others. Okay, let's talk about this. Number 1. Broker, prior to writing an offer on a property, will disclose to buyer the amount of compensation broker expects to receive from the third party on that property by providing buyer with either 1A, a copy of the MLS listing showing the cooperating compensation offer to broker, which we know
It's gonna go away.
Thank you. So that's gonna be done did so, okay? Number 2, a separate document such as an anticipated, guess what? The ABCD form. I feel like Vanna White, on Wheel of Fortune, rah, where the price is right. Welcome to the new form that you guys should already be looking at. Review it, learn it, gonna have to deal with it. I mean, if you guys were in denial that this was coming, sorry. Welcome to our wonderful AA class, not Alcoholics Anonymous. The anticipated, form class, AF form,
Do you
AF
recommend
class.
having them sign the MLS form also, since you brought it up?
It's not gonna be on the MLS.
It's not gonna be on the MLS.
I mean, but just a printout, that way if they sign it, that way it reaffirms your file.
Well,
Oh, that they saw the property.
If they sell it, then you're the procuring cost.
Well, remember, that's why you have a form that's gonna explain all the properties that you have shown. Well, and remember, you should already have copies or the addresses of the properties that you've shown, and so should they. Because if at any case, they're done with you, David, and they wanna cancel you, and they wanna go to Yvette, guess what? Yvette's gonna wanna see what you've shown.
Showtime, a copy that.
You can do a Showtime if they're doing Showtime.
Yeah, if you.
That's a great idea, and I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, because Showtime will also have a history
record.
of that. But it doesn't have the history of the buyer's information on there.
You can put it.
Yes,
You can put it.
unless you put it, but not everybody does that. So yeah, again, these are little things that we just forget to do that we need to start doing. Okay, guys, the anticipated broker compensation disclosure, you guys ready?
Sorry. Transaction log.
There you go. Okay, guys, listen up. Next thing, you guys need to start learning how to do this. Compensation will be paid, I'm looking at this right here on the top. Compensation will be paid pursuant to a MLS offer. Obviously, that's gonna go away. Or a cooperating broker compensation agreement, such as your BRBC. Buyers aware that any commission paid by seller directly or indirectly through seller's broker affects the seller's total costs and expenses for the transaction, and it may impact the price seller is willing to accept. If for a specified property, broker has provided buyer with a copy of a document from the MLS that identifies a compensation offer to a cooperating broker for a listed property, that property may but does not have to be listed below. Broker independently through escrow will disclose the final compensation broker receives from anyone other than buyer. Okay, well, we already know that this form is gonna get changed, just like every other form. But this is what I like about this form. I mentioned this last week. If I took Jamie and she sent me out looking at 9 properties, because she wanted to see all 9 properties, and it was a scorching 100-degree day. Guess what? She wants to put an offer, knowing Jamie, on all 9 properties. And guess what I will do? Writing up the offers, guess what I'm going to do? I'm just gonna take it a step further. What am I gonna do? Obviously, the BRBC, the RPA, 3G3, SPBB. Gosh, there's so many ones. I'm gonna do an ABCD. You know what? I'm gonna just do a rap. I'm gonna make a song because there's a lot of these abbreviations. And in this, I am going to insert what? Property address. First shown or offer made, the compensation offered, the source. Most likely that will change because it says MLS or CBC. That's most likely gonna change. So guess what? Jamie fell in love with Jennifer Lucero's listing. She fell in love. But Jennifer Lucero, she being really mean. She's only giving me $500.
Oh, wow.
No, I'll take it back. She's not being mean. Let me read to the example. Jennifer Lucero is, no, I'm gonna leave it at $500. Jennifer, okay, I'll do it just this one time. Okay. Jennifer Lucero is only offering $500 for compensation. I have to put it there. But Jamie signed a BRBC with me for 2.5%. The list price is $1.2 million. I don't know where that property is at, but you got $1.2 million. Okay. So it's $1.2 million. She's only offering, imagine that, $500. Next property. Doris has a listing. Doris has a property and she's offering 2.5%. So it's gonna be up there. Okay. And so on and so forth. Out of all the properties Jamie really wants, she fell in love with Jennifer Lucero's property. But guess what happens? When Jamie sees this, she's gonna be like, I have to pay the rest of that commission. Indeed. So you know how buyers, there's that saying, buyers are liars?
Yes.
No, sellers can be liars too, but buyers tend to lie. Well, guess what? You know how when they say, oh, I fell in love with that house. And then all of a sudden, when you write up an offer, this is obviously before we're doing all of this, they write up that, oh, you know what, no, I changed my mind. I don't want that home at all. Well, now it's gonna be more like, do they really want this home? Because if they really want this home, they're gonna have to fork over the moolah. Okay, so again, the ABCD form. This is important. I would actually send this on over. Again, the way we structure deals or the way we submit offers, and before we submit them, we're gonna have to be showing this to them. Okay? And at the end, final compensation from persons other than buyer, we have to input all that information from the seller, broker, and the amount. So basically, we will find out who is giving what, and then the buyer, technically now the buyer's gonna know how much we've gotten compensated for. Where before they really didn't know. They were probably out in the dark somewhere. Now they'll know. And obviously when submitting the offer, if it wasn't countered out and you submitted your SPB form, maybe they don't have to pay the full compensation.
Or just have them sign it before this gets filled in.
Well, but you have to just, you wanna go around the easy way, bro. Listen, what happens when you detour on a road that you've never been on before?
Sometimes you find a lot of gold.
And at this point, all that gold is gone. You will, honestly, guys, do things correctly. Don't take shortcuts. It is not worth it. I have learned in life that the more you take shortcuts, the harder it is to get back on track. You lose sight of the price. If you do it correctly, the first time around, you'll be fine. Yes.
Yeah, if you charge the buyer 2% and you find a listing for the buyer, where they pay 3%.
Okay. What's the question? I'm trying to understand.
It's good that the seller pay 3%, but in the form, in the contract,
If the seller's paying 3%,
Yes.
It's a good thing.
yeah, it's a great thing. And what is it? And you're charging your buyer 2%? Yeah, you get your broker gets 3%.
I can keep that 3%.
It's on the first page of the BRBC. Were you here last week?
No.
Last week's class, go on YouTube and look it up and it'll tell you right there. All right, guys. ABCD agreement. You guys understand this?
Yes.
Okay, next thing, but check this out. I like this part, bottom part. Buyer's initials below are not required. I like that because we've also seen this. Where have I seen this at? I've seen it on the Avid. It's not required by a buyer or a seller to sign. I forgot which one it is. But I like this part, but it's not required, but I'm gonna require them to initial it. At this point, I'm gonna have them initial everything to mind my P's and Q's. Why? Because now everything is out on the line. Remember, everything that we say and we put out there can bite us in the butt. Have them initial it. The compensation factors. Are we learning something, guys?
Oh, yeah.
Is it too much?
No.
Am I too much?
No.
You're wonderful.
Is David too much?
Oh,
Yes.
I just tell the.
She says with love.
Thank you.
Right now, how are you guys feeling right now? Because the next part is paragraph 6, broker authorizations and obligations, and that's page 2 of your BRBC. How are we feeling right now?
Good.
So far?
Good. Yeah.
Okay. Paragraph number 6 discusses broker authorization and obligations. This one, I'm gonna leave it right there because we have talked about multiple forms right now. What did we discuss today? I know that Yvette's happy because she's gonna be able to get out. I know. No, she's not. Okay, so don't get mad at Yvette because she's leaving, but because she has a doctor's appointment. That's okay. So good luck, Yvette, okay?
Yes.
Well wishes. Okay. And say hi to your son first. Okay. So what did we learn today? We learned the SPBB form. We learned the ABCD form. I'm telling you, this is going, it's like that, isn't Michael Jackson song? ABC.
One, two, three.
Oh, Ray, me, ABC. Yeah, look at this.
You and me.
We just did a freaking music class today. Cheers to you guys.
You love me.
could do a wrap with all sorts of.
I know, right? We're just gonna do a wrap, but there are so many forms. Okay, guys, so, okay, listen up. We learned SPBB, we learned the NBIP, that's if we're doing a cancellation. Last week, we learned about the SBOR, the cancellation form for the buyer. There's a couple of more forms. I'm not gonna get into that because again, I'm gonna break it down. The next one that we're going to learn, and that will be June 10th here at the main office at 11 a.m. I believe that is a Monday. I'm going to get into the BTA form. You guys wanna know what that is?
Yes, please.
Okay. One, there's gonna be a couple of them actually, so get ready. BMA or BMI, I'm sorry, and that's not your body mass index, okay? We're gonna talk about BMI, this is not a health class, I'm telling you. BMI and then, or TMI, no, just kidding. BMI, and then we're gonna talk about the BTA form, Buyer Transactional Advisory. I mean, that might not be that much, but trust me, you're gonna have to learn a little bit about it. Now, I'm gonna basically summarize because I have a couple of minutes before I end this class for today. Don't be sad, you will see me here on Monday. But paragraph 6, I'm gonna leave it at that on page 2. Paragraph 6 discusses broker authorizations and obligations. Next week on Monday, when I talk about this class, we're gonna really define what is your role and your duty as a buyer's agent. There is a phrase, and I love this phrase. If you guys can write it down or remember it, I'll probably bring it up again next week. You limit liability when you inform your buyer what your job or your role is as a buyer's agent. Can I get an amen?
Can you repeat that?
You limit liability when you inform buyer what your job / role is. Why do I say that? Does anybody want to go to court?
No.
Does anybody want to have Ron Feldman? I mean, I would if I had to, but do
Yeah,
we want
absolutely.
to deal with, like, do we want to go to court?
No.
Okay, so keep that in mind because the BTA form, we will have your buyer sign because that will inform them of your basically your duties. At the same time, I encourage you, if you haven't done so, because you guys have to start doing it. I will do a class on it as well. I'm gonna be here for the rest of the year now. We're gonna be working on our buyer's presentations, your resumes, what your roles are, but I'm gonna encourage you to, as food for thought, write down 21 things that you will do for your buyers as the role as a buyer's agent. And 21 things, that's the minimum, because there is a form that I did find, I don't know where, but I have it somewhere on my laptop. I did find it where it illustrates 150 things that buyer's agents do. And I think the listing agents I think it's a little bit more than that, okay? But I'm only asking for 21. Think about the 21 things that you will do for your clients as a buyer's agent and how you represent them. And out of those, and I'm talking about roles and things that you would do, please don't say, I'm going to be the bestest realtor in the whole wide world. No. No, come on, guys, we gotta be realistic here. Your time is valuable, money is valuable, the market is valuable, and the way we come across to our buyers and our clients and our customers and referrals and in open houses, so on and so forth, is valuable. So if you can take the time to at least write down 21 things what is your role as a buyer's agent, I want to hear from you guys next week on Monday at 11 a.m. You guys good?
Yep.
Any
Well done.
questions?
Good job.
Yes.
I appreciate that, David.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
learned a lot, seriously.
I know.
You opened up my eyes.
I did.
Yes, ma'am.
That makes me happy. Well, thank you guys. Congratulations to you guys for being here and make it a wonderful rest of your week. And, start implementing those things.
I want a star on my forehead, one of those little stars.
You want to start? Okay,
Yeah.
so David, next week, I want my apple.
There you go.
I want my apple.
Just teach you.
Okay?
Like greater red. I like it.